Confusion. As the news proliferates into rumor, endless information, and conspiracy theories, the subversive activities of governments are exposed, the protest movements increase, fear, prejudice, and hatred proliferates into uncompromising slogans of opposition, the whole proposition of understanding becomes defunct by the sheer complexity of the issues. How do we discern the real from the false? What the governments call misinformation, the people know as lies, cover-ups, deception. What the government knows as truth, the population knows as propaganda. It is simply impossible to keep pace with the constant and simultaneous events that become the news. The problem revolves around the implications of what this all means to our species taken as a whole. After all, what is the value of 10 million contradicting opinions in the face of reality? The profound thing is that everyone is doing what they think is best, or at least what they can attain. Out of it all, we are witnessing the corrosion of human values in the reverberations of conflicting ideologies, doctrines, dogmas, and sheer propaganda, and losing our link with each other as human beings. Competition is the igniting spark of ambition, leaving winners and losers in the wake of its passing. In other words, the ideal world, the metaphysical realms, are tyrannizing humankind, dominating us, leading us into isolation, alienation, disconnecting us from our foundation as human beings, a commonwealth of womb-born life. As the governments announce their self-interest and stipulations to each other, defying all and asserting the supremacy of their own cause, the world goes on. A hurricane destroys New Orleans. A typhoon wipes out the Philippine Islands. An earthquake flattens Haiti. Tsunamis destroy the coastal cities of Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Japan. A volcano erupts in Iceland. Genocide breaks out in Rwanda and Serbia, and financial recession causes havoc among the people not in the news. China invades Tibet, America bombs Iraq, invades Afghanistan. Israel turns Palestine into a concentration camp. Civil war breaks out in Sudan, Syria, Egypt, Libya, Venezuela, Ukraine, and more people are killed for the sake of ideologies. Apart from this, pollution seeps and spreads silently as the industrial corporations deny that there is any harm to us. Yet the paradox remains. According to sound marketing principles, that supply follows demand. Therefore, what justifies corporations is demand. At the same time, the consumer market promotes the rise of the corporations to superpowers. How can the blame for pollution rest only on the corporations? Look at the discarded trash that has found its way into the oceans. What of the consumers who complain of the rising prices as their collective demand increases? Is this not the very crowbar that forces open the pockets of the consumers to load billions into the banks of the corporations? The governments justify their deeds with propaganda, to view their causes as righteous, and resist any and all opposition through legislation or by force with a clear conscience. Nationalism is a head-on collision with its own reflection in other peoples. Self-defense is the great cause behind self-interest, and all self-defense is the prodigy of fear. Fear for the loss of life or property or status, anything which might curb or handicap their interests. No blame, just a fact. For this reason, fear is sanctified into an innocent act, free of all guilt. When human beings go after what they want, their pursuit predominates relative to and concurrent with everything going on around them. The simple truth is that love cannot be legislated, nor concern for others be forced. What is not voluntary only makes matters worse. To quote a line from Shakespeare, mad idolatry to make the service greater than the God. Human being is not a concept, but our foundation in the body of life, not some ideology, dogma, or policy. Legislation does not make us real. The motive that steers us at the moment of speech, action, and perception does. Liberty presupposes that we act responsibly and are accountable in order to have the several freedoms. In the face of all this complexity and motion, we must find a path and serve our times. The confusion of world events makes personal order an imperative. We are the living generation, not the dead. We bear the continuous birth of the future and the ceaseless dying of the past every day of our lives.